Before the glow, there is ground. Before the applause, there is isolation. Life will break you down before it builds you up. If you're hurting right now, you're not losing, you're loading power. This isn't a fairy tale where success shows up early. This is real life, and real life demands struggle first. The struggle is the proving ground, the place where weak intentions die and real commitment is born. Every delay, every failure, every season where nothing seems to move, it's shaping your backbone. Rising without struggle creates hollow victories. But when you struggle first, you rise with substance, discipline, and scars that remind you how far you've come. This is the season where excuses don't survive and strength gets built quietly. If it feels unbearable, it's because you're becoming someone who can carry more. They want the glory, but they don't want the grind. They want the title, but they don't want the toll. They want the rise, but they keep asking why the road is so heavy. Listen to me. Struggle is the entry fee to greatness. There is no other door. Nobody walks into greatness by accident. You don't stumble into purpose. You don't trip into destiny. You pay for it. And the currency is struggle, long nights, quiet tears. Doubt that sits on your chest like weight you can't shake. That's not life being cruel. That's life checking if you're serious. Because greatness is expensive, and anything expensive demands proof. See, everybody says they want it. Everybody talks big when the lights are on. But when the pressure hits, when the results don't show, when the effort isn't rewarded immediately, that's when the crowd disappears. That's when excuses get loud. That's when dreams start negotiating. And that's exactly why most people never cross the line. Struggle is the line. It's the gatekeeper. It asks one question: how bad do you want this? Not how loud you say it. Not how good you post it. How long can you endure when nobody claps for you? Because if you can't survive the struggle, you can't be trusted with the success. The struggle strips you. It takes away the fake confidence. It exposes the weak habits. It shows you where you're undisciplined, where you're lazy, where you've been lying to yourself. And most people hate that feeling. They call it unfair. They call it bad luck. No, it's preparation. You don't walk into greatness clean. You crawl and scratch, humbled and changed. Every great story starts the same way. Someone had nothing but belief and pain. Nothing was guaranteed. Nobody was coming to save them. And every day felt like they were pushing uphill with no traction. That's the price. That's the receipt. And let me tell you something hard but true. If it doesn't cost you sleep, it won't change your life. If it doesn't cost you comfort, it won't elevate you. If it doesn't cost you pride, it won't shape your character. Struggle teaches you discipline when motivation leaves. Struggle teaches you faith when evidence is missing. Struggle teaches you how to stand when everything in you wants to sit down. That's why shortcuts don't work. Shortcuts skip the struggle, and when you skip the struggle, you skip the strength. You get the reward, but you don't have the backbone to hold it. So the moment pressure shows up, you fold. Greatness requires shoulders that can carry weight, and those shoulders are built under pressure. You think the struggle is slowing you down, but it's actually setting your foundation. You think you're behind, but you're being reinforced. You think you're being denied, but you're being developed. The struggle is not the enemy. Quitting is. See, the struggle doesn't ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be persistent. Show up tired, show up scared, show up unsure. Just don't stop showing up, because every time you push through when you don't feel like it, you're proving you belong at a higher level. That's why greatness feels lonely at first. That's why the road feels narrow. That's why the pressure feels personal, because it is. Life is separating the ones who want from the ones who will. And the struggle is the filter. So stop asking when it will get easier. Stop complaining about how hard it is. Stop wishing for a different path. You're on the right one. Pay the fee, carry the weight, endure the process. Pressure doesn't come to crush you, it comes to create you. And if you don't understand that, you'll keep running from the very thing that's meant to make you powerful. Everybody wants strength, but nobody wants pressure. Everybody prays for elevation, but panics when the weight increases. Listen carefully, pressure is not punishment. Pressure is process. Nothing strong is built in easy conditions. Nothing sharp is formed in comfort. You don't wake up resilient. You don't inherit toughness. You earn it rep by rep, hit by hit, moment by moment under pressure. See, effort without pressure stays soft. Effort without resistance stays average. It's pressure that forces effort to evolve into strength. When life presses you, it's asking a question: will you break or will you adapt? And adaptation is where power is born. Think about it. When everything is going right, you don't change. You repeat, you coast, you relax. But when pressure shows up, suddenly you're forced to think differently, move differently, Fight differently. Pressure wakes you up. Pressure exposes weaknesses you ignored. Pressure demands growth. That's why comfort never made anybody great. Comfort tells you to stop early. Pressure tells you to dig deeper. Comfort lies and says, you've done enough. Pressure tells the truth and says, you're capable of more. And yes, pressure hurts. It squeezes. It suffocates. It makes you question yourself. But that discomfort is not damage. It's development, because pressure reveals what's inside you. When pressure hits, excuses disappear. When pressure hits, habits show up. When pressure hits, you find out if your discipline is real or just talk. That's why some people collapse under pressure and others rise. Same pressure, different preparation. Pressure turns effort into strength by forcing consistency. Anybody can work hard when they feel like it. Pressure teaches you to work when you don't. Pressure teaches you to show up tired, frustrated, overlooked, and still perform. That's where strength is built, not in hype, but in obedience to the work. Under pressure, effort becomes refined. You stop wasting energy. You stop playing around. You stop pretending. Pressure sharpens focus. It cuts out distractions. It makes priorities clear. Suddenly, what doesn't matter falls away, and what truly matters demands your attention. That clarity, that strength being formed. And here's the hard truth most people don't want to hear. If you keep avoiding pressure, you are delaying your own growth. You keep asking for a lighter load when what you really need is a stronger back. Pressure is the gym of life, and every rep hurts before it helps, but every rep counts. That setback, pressure, that rejection, pressure, that season where nothing is moving, pressure. And every time you endure instead of escape, something inside you thickens, your skin gets tougher, your resolve gets deeper. Your confidence becomes quieter but stronger because it's no longer based on results, it's based on survival. You start trusting yourself differently when you've been under pressure and didn't quit. Pressure also teaches humility. It breaks arrogance. It reminds you that talent alone is not enough. That effort must be sustained. That growth is earned daily. Pressure keeps you grounded while you're being elevated. And don't miss this, pressure doesn't last forever, but the strength it builds does. That's why when the pressure lifts, you don't go back to who you were. You move forward as someone new, someone heavier, someone steadier, someone harder to shake. People will look at you later and say, you make it look easy. They didn't see the pressure. They didn't feel the weight. They didn't endure the nights where quitting felt logical. But you did. And that's why you can carry what they can't. So stop praying for pressure to disappear. Pray for the strength to endure it. Stop asking why it's so hard. Ask what it's building inside you. Because effort plus pressure equals power. Effort plus pressure equals resilience. Effort plus pressure equals a version of you that cannot be broken by circumstances. Let the pressure work. Let it shape you. Let it force the strength out of you. You're in a hurry, and that's the problem. You want it now. You want results fast, answers quick, progress visible. But hear this clearly, the struggle is teaching you patience and control, and without those two, success will destroy you. Patience is not weakness. Control is not hesitation. They are survival skills for the next level. See, impatience makes you reckless. It makes you force doors that aren't ready to open. It makes you chase shortcuts that cost you later. And life, in its wisdom, will slow you down on purpose, not to frustrate you, but to protect you, because you are not ready for what you're asking for yet. The struggle stretches time, days feel longer, progress feels slower, and every nerve in your body wants to rush. But that waiting, that tension, that's where patience is forged. Not the quiet kind, the disciplined kind, the kind that knows how to wait without quitting. Anybody can wait when things are going well. Patience is built when nothing is happening. When you're doing everything right and still seeing nothing, when effort isn't matching reward, when you're showing up and still being overlooked, that's where impatience screams, do something, anything, and control whispers, stay steady. The struggle teaches you control by forcing you to sit with discomfort. You don't get to react emotionally to every setback. You don't get to explode every time life says no. You learn to breathe, to think, to respond instead of react. That's maturity being built, because uncontrolled people sabotage their own breakthroughs. They talk too much. They move too fast. They burn bridges they'll need later. The struggle slows you down so you don't destroy what you're trying to build. Delayed progress is a classroom. In that classroom, patience teaches you timing. Control teaches you restraint. You learn when to push and when to pause, when to speak and when to stay silent, when to act and when to wait for alignment. And this lesson is brutal because there's no applause for patience. Nobody claps when you hold back. Nobody celebrates when you wait instead of rush. but life is watching. The struggle also teaches you emotional control. When things don't go your way, do you spiral or do you stabilize? Do you fall apart or do you fall back into discipline? Control is staying consistent even when emotions are loud, because emotions are terrible leaders. They'll tell you to quit on a bad day. They'll tell you you're not good enough after one loss. They'll tell you to compare yourself to people who aren't on your path. Control says, not today. Control says, stay locked in. Control says, trust the process even when you don't feel confident. That kind of control doesn't come from success. It comes from struggle. Every delay trains your nervous system to stay calm under pressure. Every setback teaches you not to panic. Every quiet season teaches you how to stand without validation. That's power. Because when the pressure increases later, and it will, you won't fold. You've already learned how to wait without weakening, how to endure without exploding. Patience also protects your purpose. Some blessings arrive late because arriving early would ruin you. You'd mishandle it. You'd misuse it. You'd let ego lead instead of wisdom. So life holds it back until your patience proves your readiness. And control. Control keeps you grounded when the rise finally comes. People who never learn control let success change them. They get loud, careless, distracted. They lose focus. But the struggle-trained individual moves differently, calm, measured, intentional. Because you remember how long you waited. You remember how hard it was. You remember who you had to become. So stop fighting the pace. Stop cursing the delay. Stop rushing what requires refinement. The struggle is slowing you down to sharpen you. It's training your patience so you don't abandon the process. It's building your control so you don't self-destruct at the finish line. You don't need faster results. You need deeper discipline. And that only comes when you learn to wait, to breathe, to move with purpose instead of panic. Let the struggle teach you. Let it stretch you. Let it steady you. Pain will ask you a question that comfort never will. Not what you say you want, but what you're willing to suffer for. Because when it hurts, pretending stops. Everybody wants success when it's cheap. Everybody wants purpose when it's convenient. Everybody wants change when it doesn't demand sacrifice. But pain doesn't care about your words. Pain doesn't listen to your excuses. Pain shows up and says, prove it. And that's why pain eliminates fake desire. When the pressure increases, when the nights get longer, when progress slows and resistance gets loud, false passion dies right there. Fake hunger taps out early. Only what's real survives the pain. See, desire sounds confident when nothing is required, but pain demands payment. The moment it costs you comfort, sleep, relationships, ego, that's when the truth shows up. That's when you find out if this was just something you liked or something you needed. Pain exposes priorities. When it hurts, you stop chasing everything. You narrow your focus. You stop saying yes to nonsense. You stop wasting energy on distractions. Pain forces clarity. It strips your life down to what actually matters. That's why some people disappear when it gets hard, not because they're weak, but because they were never committed. They loved the idea, not the work. They wanted the image, not the process. They wanted the reward, not the responsibility. Pain doesn't shame them, it reveals them. And that revelation is a gift, because fake desire is dangerous. It keeps you stuck chasing things you don't truly want, burning energy on paths you won't finish. Pain cuts that off. It says either you're in or you're out. And listen, there is no middle ground when pain shows up. Pain doesn't negotiate. Pain doesn't compromise. Pain demands a decision, stay or quit, push or retreat, commit or walk away. That decision defines your future. When pain hits, excuses lose their power. Motivation speeches stop working. Inspiration fades. What remains is discipline or nothing. And discipline only exists where desire is real. That's why pain feels personal, because it is. It's life asking, is this just talk or is this who you are? Pain also humbles you. It breaks entitlement. It kills the belief that you deserve success just because you want it. Pain reminds you that wanting is free, but becoming costs everything, and the cost filters people. You start noticing that when it hurts, you don't complain about everything, you complain about what you're attached to. Pain exposes attachments. It shows you what you're addicted to, what you rely on too much, what you need to let go of to grow. Some people quit not because the pain is unbearable, but because the pain demands change, change in habits, change in mindset, change in identity. And that's scary. Because pain doesn't just hurt your body, it challenges who you think you are. It forces you to ask hard questions. Do I really want this? Am I willing to give up comfort for growth? Am I ready to outgrow my old self? Fake desire says no. Real desire says whatever it takes. Pain also sharpens commitment. When you keep going despite the pain, something powerful happens. Your desire deepens. It stops being emotional and becomes intentional. You're no longer chasing a feeling. You're honoring a decision. And decisions are stronger than emotions. Pain teaches you that if you can endure discomfort, you can endure discipline. If you can endure discipline, you can endure the process. And if you can endure the process, you will rise, not because you felt good, but because you refuse to quit. That's why pain is necessary. Without pain, everybody would claim the dream. Without pain, everybody would say they want greatness. Without pain, success would be crowded. Pain keeps the path narrow. It makes sure only the committed stay on it. So stop running from the pain. Stop praying for it to disappear. Stop asking why it hurts so much. Ask instead, what is this pain trying to remove from me? Because what's fake won't survive this season. What's weak won't last. What's half-hearted will fall away. And what remains, what stands after the pain, that's the real you, the focused you, the disciplined you, the version that doesn't need motivation because commitment is already locked in. Let the pain burn away what was never meant to last. Let it eliminate the excuses. Let it silence the doubt that wasn't strong enough to stay. Because when fake desire dies, real purpose finally has room to rise. They look at you and think you're late. They think you missed your moment. They think you fell behind. But what they don't understand is this: rising late builds lasting confidence. Early success feels good, but it's fragile. Late success feels different because it's earned. See, when things come too fast, you don't know why they're working. You don't know what breaks when pressure hits. You don't know how to survive loss, drought, or doubt. So the moment life shakes you, confidence collapses. But when you rise late, when it takes years instead of months, when you struggle longer than you planned, you build something most people never get: unshakable belief. Belief that isn't loud, belief that isn't arrogant, belief that doesn't need validation because you've been tested. Late success comes after failure, after embarrassment, after watching other people pass you while you stayed stuck, after praying and hearing nothing back, after doing the work with no results. And that changes you. You stop depending on hype. You stop needing approval. You stop chasing timelines that don't belong to you. Your confidence doesn't come from winning. It comes from surviving. You know what it feels like to be doubted. You know what it feels like to start over. You know what it feels like to keep going when quitting makes sense. That kind of confidence can't be taken because nobody gave it to you. Early success says, I'm good because I'm winning. Late success says, I'm good because I endured. And endurance builds depth. When you rise late, you've already faced your worst fears: failure, rejection, being overlooked, being underestimated. So when success finally shows up, it doesn't intoxicate you. It doesn't make you reckless. It doesn't make you forget who you are. You've already been humbled. Late success creates calm confidence. You move slower. You speak less. You don't panic under pressure because you've already lived through the worst case scenarios and survived them. That's why late bloomers don't fold easily. They know how to lose without breaking. They know how to wait without quitting. They know how to work without recognition. And when recognition finally comes, it doesn't define them, it confirms them. See, rising late teaches you patience with yourself. You stop rushing your growth. You stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 10. You understand that development takes time, and that time was doing something in you before it did something for you. Late success builds internal confidence. You trust your process because you've tested it. You trust your discipline because you've relied on it. You trust yourself because you've already proven you won't quit when it hurts. That's dangerous in the best way, because people with internal confidence don't need perfect conditions. They don't need praise. They don't need things to go their way. They create momentum wherever they are because their belief isn't fragile, it's rooted. And let's be honest, rising late hurts. Watching others win first hurts. Being patient when you're hungry hurts. Staying disciplined when results are delayed hurts. But that pain hardens you in ways early success never could. It teaches you gratitude. It teaches you humility. It teaches you respect for the process. So when you finally rise, you don't waste it. You don't take shortcuts. You don't play games. You don't forget the struggle because you remember how close you were to giving up. You remember the nights you questioned everything. You remember the version of you that almost quit. That memory keeps you grounded. Late success also teaches you something critical. Success is not luck. It's alignment between preparation and timing. And timing doesn't answer to impatience. Timing answers to readiness. You weren't delayed. You were being prepared, prepared to handle pressure, prepared to manage growth, prepared to stay disciplined when it gets bigger. So stop calling yourself behind. Stop letting age timelines and comparison poison your confidence. Stop assuming early winners are stronger than you. Some of them just haven't been tested yet. Your struggle gave you something they may never develop: resilience, perspective, depth. And when you rise, not if, when your confidence won't be loud, but it will be solid, not flashy, but stable, not emotional, but rooted. You won't fear losing it because you know how to rebuild it. That's the power of rising late. It doesn't just give you success, it gives you security. They won't be able to deny it, not your growth, not your presence, not your place. Because when you rise after struggle, your rise speaks for itself. There's a kind of success that needs explaining, and there's a kind that doesn't. This one doesn't. See, shortcuts create questions. Favor creates doubt. Easy wins invite suspicion. People start whispering, how did they get that? Who helped them? Was it luck? But when you come up through struggle, real struggle, there's no debate. The scars answer before you speak. Struggle makes your rise undeniable because it leaves evidence. It leaves discipline in your walk, humility in your tone, strength in your silence. You don't need to announce who you are. The work already did. People saw you when it was ugly. They saw you when it was slow. They saw you when quitting would have made sense. And you stayed. That's why your rise doesn't shock you. It confirms you. But it shocks everyone else. Because struggle builds consistency, and consistency builds credibility. You didn't disappear when it got hard. You didn't change direction every time things got uncomfortable. You didn't talk more than you worked. You just kept showing up day after day, rep after rep, season after season. And that kind of persistence cannot be ignored forever. Struggle also strips away entitlement. You don't walk around thinking you deserve applause. You don't expect praise for effort. You've been through too much to need validation. You know how much it costs, so when it finally comes, you handle it with respect. That maturity, that steadiness, that's undeniable. People who skip the struggle rise loud but fall fast. People who survive the struggle rise quiet but stay long. Because you learned how to carry weight before the spotlight showed up. And here's the part most people don't talk about. Struggle doesn't just prepare you for success, it protects your reputation. When you've earned it the hard way, nobody can take credit for your work. Nobody can rewrite your story. Nobody can minimize your journey. You know where you came from. They know where you came from. That's power. Struggle also teaches restraint. You don't overreact. You don't panic under pressure. You've already been through worse. So when challenges show up at the next level, you don't fold, you adjust. That makes your rise stable. You don't burn bridges because you remember needing help. You don't become arrogant because you remember being humbled. You don't forget the process because the process shaped you. And that integrity, that consistency, it makes your rise unquestionable. People might not like you, but they'll respect you. They might doubt you, but they can't dismiss you because results backed by struggle hit different. Struggle also eliminates excuses before success arrives. You've already faced your limitations. You've already confronted your weaknesses. You've already done the internal work. So when opportunity meets you, you're ready, not lucky, prepared. And preparation removes doubt. When your rise comes, you don't rush to prove yourself. You don't feel insecure. You don't feel the need to perform. You know who you are because the struggle introduced you to yourself long before the world did. That's why your presence feels solid. That's why your confidence feels calm. That's why your success feels earned. People can sense when someone has been forged, not gifted. Struggle forges character. Character sustains success. So when doors open for you, they stay open. When platforms come, you don't fumble them. When pressure increases, you don't crack because you've already been shaped in fire, and fire leaves mark. Those marks are your proof. Let them question others. Let them doubt shortcuts. Let them debate easy wins. Your rise won't need defending. Because struggle doesn't just lift you, it anchors you. It anchors you in discipline. It anchors you in humility. It anchors you in truth. And truth doesn't need hype. So if you're still in the struggle, stay locked in, stay focused, stay disciplined. Every hard day is building credibility you can't buy. Every quiet sacrifice is laying bricks for a rise that won't collapse. They may not notice you now. They may not believe in you yet. They may not understand what you're becoming, but keep going. Because when you rise, when there will be no confusion, no debate, no denial.